and welcome to my Pan Those Eyeshadows update for August. This month, I think we're going to work from least exciting update to most exciting update before I roll in my two new shades for next month. So let's start with a really disappointing update. This Teddy Girl palette from Butter London. I'm supposed to be working on the shade Penelope, which is this purple. I didn't use it, not a single time. I made the mistake this month of actually putting things away. And apparently the way that I actually remember to use my Project Pan items is just having them out. So this went in its rightful spot where it's supposed to go every single day. I'm not supposed to leave my Project Pan stuff out. It got completely forgotten. I need to make a point of using this next month, which I think might actually be its last month in the project. I hope that's not true. I hope it has another month because I really do want to get some good use on this. Next, we have another shade that I barely used, though for a very different reason. This is the shade Phone Home from Luxie. It is a bright green, though in a swatch, I think you can, well, in the swatch, from my vantage point, can see that it has some pink. Hopefully, alas, I'm seeing a lot of pink at this angle, but you are still seeing green, I believe. Hard to know with the viewfinder. Anyway, I just haven't been feeling colorful makeup this month. I've been feeling colorful lips, but my eyes have been really neutral pretty much all month long. This is probably the single most colorful look that I've done this month. And so this one just didn't really get used. Hopefully things will change a little bit and I will start being more into color again because I love color. But it's just been so easy this month to just put like one neutral shade on my lid and then wear something a little brighter on my lips and call it good. I want to change that. Okay, two more shadows that I do not have pan or haven't been in the project long enough to roll out. The first is from Colourpop. This is the Cabana Club palette. And the shade that I am working on is Limelight, which is right over here. It's a really pretty shade. I used it a couple of times this month, but not enough to make any real progress. It's very yellowy, has a little hint of green, but mostly pretty yellow. And what I like about this shade is that it's not a gold. This definitely feels like a shimmery yellow, which I think is just gorgeous and so much fun. It's a little bit different. I don't have too many shades that I could describe that way. And just to keep things consistent, I'm going to swatch the Butter London as well. Because those are 3 of the 6 shades that will be going into next month. Then last, we have the shade that I brought in at last month's update. This is from the Lorac Fairy Tale Forest palette. Actually, I think I brought in 2 shades in last month's update as well. This is one of them. So the shade that I brought in is this olive right here, and this is the shade of the ones that are coming with me in next month that I probably wore the most often. I wore this, I would say probably 6-7 times, and pretty much every time the way I used this was just putting it all over the lid. Sometimes I would buff it out with a matte, either one of the mattes at the top, on the top row of this palette, or just, you know, some other neutral matte that I had laying around. It is really pretty, kind of a dirty olive shade. On me, I think this pulls like a really cool bronze to dirty olive, sort of depending on the light. I find it to be a pretty flattering color. Sometimes greens are a little bit rough for me because my eyes are sort of blue or green, and sometimes a really bright green can make my eyes look almost colorless and sort of washed out. Not really a fan of that, but this has been working really well for me. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Now let's move on to the two shades that are going to be rolling out. The first one has just been in the project for long enough that it is time. I decided at the beginning of the year that if I had something in the project for 4 months and I hadn't hit pan, that it would roll out. And this is another Lorac palette. This is their Mystic Oak little 6 pan. I've been working on this shade here, this cool brown shade. I don't need to swatch this. It's very pretty, and I think you can tell I have actually made a good dent in it. I mean, I don't have pan. I'm nowhere close to pan, I'm sure, but this is looking very well used. I think all 4 of these shimmery shades now are starting to look pretty battered. The 2 mattes, not so much. I mean, I don't use a black that consistently ever, so not surprising. The beige, I can see some use on it in person, but I don't think you'll be able to see it. This is such a beautiful little palette. I really enjoy it. I've loved it for about a year. I think I bought this for my birthday back in April 2022, and I adore it. I think it's so cute, so little, compact, but it really does have a nice variety of textures in here. It's a beautiful little palette. And then finally we have a pan. This is from a Colourpop. It's in the In a Trance palette. I brought this in last month, I believe, for a topper shade. I'm not 100% sure about what prompt I pulled this in for, but I brought in the shade Clarity. And can you see? There is a pan in there. Oh, there it is. It's actually a pretty sizable pan. I'm wearing this today. This is not the day that I hit pan. I've actually used it, I think, 2 or 3 times since I hit pan. So happy about that. I have a light purple cream gel liner as an eyeshadow base over my entire movable lid. And then I put this in my inner corner and about 2/3 of the way across my lid. I think it is gorgeous. You can get sort of the clarity of the shadow in my inner corner where it's not layered over anything. It's this really bright white that shifts a little bit purple. Putting it over that cream gel liner really allowed it to play a transformer role. I'm enjoying it a lot. I think this is a beautiful shade. It's probably my favorite shade. I was going to say it's my favorite shade in the palette, but I also really like this light silvery purple here. It's a really lovely palette. Probably not great for people who have medium or deep skin tones. There's really no depth here, but I quite like it. For my fair skin, it works really well. And that brings us to rolling in 2 new shades for next month. So I have been using Makeup with Lainey's prompt list. She made this to do Pan Those Eyeshadows last year. I've slightly edited down her list of prompts because we have different collections. There are things that I would not be willing to work on potentially for 4 months that she was willing to work on for as long as it took. So the prompts that I've pulled, I already pulled these just to save a little bit of time, were something that reminds me of spring and a drugstore shadow. So let's start with something that reminds me of spring. And I pulled in this Colourpop quad. This is the Acai You Baby Pressed Powder Palette. And I think, honestly, this whole quad I feel is very springy, but I think the single shade that I'm going to pull in is the pink, which this is Morning Bowl, I believe. It is super pretty. Again, actually sort of a topper shade. I've used this as a cheek highlight before. It's a really pretty glow to it. This, I think, works a little bit better than Clarity did as a single shadow or just wear by itself. Whereas Clarity, I felt always looked a little bit better layered over something else. I feel like this is a little bit more versatile in that it can allow for that shift if I layered it over another color, but it also can stand by itself a little bit better. So that is the shade that I will be working on for something that reminds me of spring. It's just so delicate and pretty, and I mean, pinks always feel springy to me, which may be strange because I like to wear pink pretty much year round, but a spring pink is just something else. And then for a drugstore shadow, I decided to bring in an e.l.f. quad that I haven't used in absolutely ages. This is the Pumpkin Pie Bite-Size Quad from e.l.f. This is one of the older items in my collection. I had this when I started my channel, and I don't think these have individual shade names, but I'm going to be working on this brown. Now, in the context of the palette, I've always felt like this looks pretty cool toned. However, that's just because it has the shade that's like a orangey brown sitting right next to it. You take it out of the palette and you can see that this is also a very warm brown. That was a bigger swatch than was necessary, but you can get a nice idea of just how lustrous it is. This has some really pretty shine, and I'm looking forward to working on it. So here are the 6 shades that I'm going to be working on for next month. I believe that at least 2 of these shades will roll out in September, even if I don't hit pan. I'm pretty sure that the Butter London Teddy Girl is coming up for rollout, as is the Colourpop Cabana Club. But we'll see. I will double check before the next update. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Please consider liking and subscribing if you did, and I hope that I will see you in the next one. Have a great day, y'all.